Hi, I'm Beth. This is Summer and we are Chic Crochet. If you remember, a couple of videos ago, I did the review for this Swift, and then in doing that, I needed yarn to put on the Swift so I could demonstrate it. So I went to a local yarn store and I bought this beautiful hank of hand-dyed yarn. I brought it home, I caked it up, and then I needed something to make with that beautiful cake. So I went to Etsy and I scoured the patterns for something that I thought I could make with one hank, and I wanted something summery because the colors that I chose were a pink, blue, and purple or lavender, and I just wanted something light, summery, or spring-like, and I chose the pattern. And in today's video, we're gonna sit down and we're going to work on that project, and stay tuned till the end so you can see the reveal of the finished shawl. I actually finished it, so let's get started.
Here's the pattern that I decided to use, and it is by Annie Design. She has a beautiful Etsy shop and a lot of other beautiful patterns, and this particular pattern is called the Crochet Lace Triangle Shawl Pattern.
Since I'm trying to make this pattern out of the hank that I bought, just to use my Swift, when I bought my Swift, in case you haven't seen that video, well, I didn't buy the Swift, I was gifted the Swift, and I didn't have a hank of yarn. So a Swift is not something I was seeking to buy, it just happened, and I took it because it was free, but then I didn't have a hank of yarn. I hadn't used hand-dyed yarn yet, so I needed to get a hank of yarn. I went shopping. You can go back and watch that video if you haven't watched it yet. And this is the yarn that I chose, and this is what it looks like once I caked it. And it's really very pretty. So then I needed to find a pattern to make with this beautiful cake of yarn that I have. And I wanted something that I could make in one cake or one hank, so I didn't have to go back and purchase more. I hope that will happen. So I was looking for something just real loose and light and lacy, and this is what I came up with. The pattern designer used the color of the yarn to name the shawl. So it's called the olive green shawl on her pattern. So that doesn't really, it doesn't really give a accurate description of my shawl, but I think it's going to be really pretty, and I like the repeat on the design. So it's coming to me very easy now. I want to be very careful not to give away her pattern. She has it in a written pattern, and then she has it in a diagram. And I have been lately, since I have another video out, I'm not sure if you saw, but it's the Granny Square book review, and it's the Modern Day Granny Square by Celine Simone. And in that book, she gives the written pattern for every granny square she does, and then she also has the diagram. And I've not been a diagram or graph reader up until this point. I have not been able to read those diagram, graph, however, whatever you call it. And now that I've gotten that granny square book, it just started making sense. And then also with this pattern that I'm doing now, the shawl, I thought I would just be reading the pattern, but again, I find myself referring back to the diagram, and that has been much easier. So now that I'm gaining more experience with that, I would encourage you to, if you haven't learned to read the diagrams either, like me, that give it a try, and you might find that it's a lot easier than it looks. And I'm finding that I really am now preferring the diagram to the reading. I'm wondering how much that will progress if I get into a pattern that has lots of different symbols that maybe I'm not familiar with or I haven't learned yet, if I'm still going to prefer the graph or the diagram. So that's going to be interesting. But right now, I'm really enjoying the diagram with this shawl. So when I was choosing my pattern, a couple of things that were important to me were that it looked like I could finish it with this one cake. And I think I'm going to be able to. Also, that it was made to measure so that when I did run out of yarn, if I wanted to quit there, I could. And I wasn't choosing the pattern, then finding the yarn that was appropriate for the pattern. I was doing that backwards. So I have the yarn, and then I was looking for the pattern that fit the yarn. So that's how I backed into it. Kind of reverse engineered the process, I guess you could say. So it's evening time now, and Summer and I are settling in. Her daddy is upstairs practicing his drums, and I've got my microphone on noise cancellation, so I hope you cannot hear that in the background. It's a lot of thump, thump, thumping. Guess what today is? It is my 1-year YouTube anniversary, my YouTube anniversary. And YouTube sent me a little video and it had a #1 on it, and I knew that it was coming up, but this morning I had forgotten what today was. So when I opened it up, I got that little message, and it was so neat to see that accomplishment and that milestone that I finally met. I can't believe how fast a year has gone by. And I did desperately want to hit that 5,000 subscriber milestone before my 1-year anniversary, and that did not happen, but I am super close, and that's okay that it didn't happen. There will be once I hit that milestone, there'll just be another one right behind it. So I will always be chasing and striving for that next goal. That's just how I'm wired anyway. But if you haven't already subscribed, I would really appreciate it, because I am going to make a special celebratory video when we hit the 5,000 mark, and I hope that's going to be really soon. I would love to be able to celebrate with you all, and if it happens, it's because of you anyway. So that would just be really fun to be able to celebrate with you all and do a special video. I know that's going to be right around the corner, but only you can get me there. So if you haven't subscribed, please do. Elise Rose Crochet released a video today. I always love watching her. You might want to hop over there and watch it. But she did a review of the 3 major retail stores in our area that carry yarn and crochet supplies and things for fiber artists, you know, just your basic stores. Elise Rose and I both live in the same state, so I find her videos very relatable. I used to live probably within maybe 5 to 7 minutes of where she lives. I can just tell from when she's out and she's driving around and what the references she makes. I can pretty much pinpoint the area where she lives, and I lived in a neighborhood just down the road from that. But anyway, so when she makes something like this, I just find it really relatable. It's very specific to me because I've lived in that same neighborhood and I still live in the same state. So those stores are the ones that I frequent the most as well. And a lot of Americans probably do. And that's Walmart, Michael's, and Hobby Lobby. So she did a really neat comparison video between the 3. And what she found was that Michael's has a lot of yarn, and they have a lot of craft supplies for fiber artists, but the store is disorganized. And I find that to be the case too, to the point that I hardly step foot in Michael's anymore, because yes, they have a ton of inventory. They have a plethora of yarn, but I can't make sense of it because the bins, everything is just stuffed everywhere. Or if a hoarder were running the yarn aisles, that's what it looks like to me. It's just extremely unorganized and chaotic, and I just do not enjoy shopping that way. So I do enjoy like going to thrift stores and bargain shopping, but if they do not have it, if it's a store where things are just like thrown in a bin, or they're just like chucked onto the shelf, or it's really in disarray, I can't do it. I just cannot shop in a place like that. I will just walk out, or I might just, the ends of the aisles, or even at Michael's, I will just go literally check out the end caps or things that are just right there in front of me. And if it appeals to me, I might grab it. But if it is something I know is there, but I have to literally hunt for it and dig through those shelves at Michael's where they've stuffed the yarn, I just won't do it. I will not do it. And I know now that Joann's has closed, that Michael's is carrying yarn and trying to pick up some of the slack that Joann's left behind. And just to be honest with you, we did have a Joann's in our town, and I hated that store. It was my last choice to shop there. So if I could find the yarn, I would even go to Walmart and try to find what I needed there before I would go to Joann's. It felt really expensive, and the yarn choices that was the one in our town were just pretty sad. And I did not realize that Joann's had so many fans. So when they announced that our store was closing down, and that store was fairly new, it was only there for probably less than 5 years. So I was not familiar with Joann's when it came. So when it came, I was like, oh, well, that's cool. We're getting a craft store. But I didn't know that it had a following. I didn't know that, and crocheters and knitters were really loyal to Joann's. I had no clue. It just wasn't a known brand for me, so it just did not carry any cachet. I couldn't care less if it closed or not because I just didn't shop there. I tried to shop there, but it seemed like it was very expensive for what you were getting, and the choices were not good. The inventory was very lacking as far as the store that was in our town. So I can assume that Joann's in other towns was way better than what we had. I will have to assume that because everyone was so upset. And I just didn't get it. I just did not understand what's the big deal. So that being said, I do understand that Michaels is trying to pick up that slack, but they need to really step it up with their organization and getting the store streamlined. It's just, if you have all of that yarn in there, if no one can find it or make sense of your system, what good is it? And Elise went to Hobby Lobby, and I'm pretty sure that she was in the Hobby Lobby that I always frequented when I lived in that area because that was my local neighborhood Hobby Lobby. But I do have a Hobby Lobby here in our current location as well. And I just really prefer Hobby Lobby. I know that they carry their own brand and they their own brands over others. And that does not bother me because I know they are not a yarn company. Yarn is not really their specialty as far as Hobby Lobby goes, but I think that they've done a really good job at curating the brands that they carry, or they're curating their own brand and their colors. And Elise mentions this too. Their color schemes are just so cohesive. So if you're looking at, let's say, just, I love this yarn in the acrylic, and that's what they have the most of, and they have this beautiful array of colors, and the colors are very organized, very organized. You've got your blues, you've got your greens, you've got your purples, you've got your pinks. It's just, but not only that, if they have a variegated yarn or an ombre yarn or, something that coordinates, they will have it in place. So you don't have to hunt and say, okay, what is this yarn going to coordinate with? It's going to be right there at your fingertips. If you're choosing that variegated yarn, you don't have to look far to find the exact colors that is going to coordinate with. So not only is Hobby Lobby very convenient, I love the convenience of it. I love reducing that amount of friction that my brain has to encounter. I don't have to think really hard about, okay, what goes with this. I can make those decisions very easily and quickly in that store. But I just love how neatly and efficient they are at organizing and making the shopping experience just more pleasant. When I go to Michael's, I typically come out of there with nothing and just disappointed. So honestly, I have not been in there in probably a couple of months at least. There will be times, I'm trying to find something that I can't find at Hobby Lobby, and I'll think, well, Michael's surely has it. And I'll go in there, and if it's in the yarn section, I usually come out with nothing, and I usually come out just aggravated. So I've just kind of given up on Michael's. If they would step up their organization game and get it all, like the aisles of Hobby Lobby look, neat and aesthetically pleasing, now that would be the magic bullet if they would do that. Because they've got the inventory and they've got the supplies, so come on. Just, I just wish they would get it together. But that's my Michael's rant. Okay, I'm done with that right now. And getting back to summer, have a lot of summer left. I have not been on a summer vacation yet. I think that we might go down to the lake with our friends and try to enjoy the lake a little bit. But that, if we do that, that's probably just going to be a couple of days. That's one of those just quick trips that's local and doesn't require packing a lot or for a long period of time. And we're also trying to save up our vacation days. And Mr. Chic Crochet, I know he is limited on his vacation days, and he is trying to save up so we can go visit one of our daughters. One moved several states away, and it's a state that I have never visited, but I have always wanted to. And he is the same. We're very excited about going to see our little girl, and that's probably something that we'll make like a vacation out of. We'll probably at least stay a week or maybe more, because we want to explore the area. And she will be working and won't be available to hang out with us a bunch, but we will just go see her for a little bit, and then we will go on our way and do our own thing and explore the state and the surrounding areas. And that's something I'm really looking forward to. For the last couple of years, we've done a pretty big European vacation. Those were joys and experiences that we just drank in. We just loved it so much, and we would like to go back and do that again this year. But if we do that, it's going to make it very hard for us to spend quality time with our daughter, because those European vacations, they take at least 2 weeks or more. We usually stay, I think year before last we stayed 15 days, and then last year we stayed 17 days, because, you know, spending that much money and you're going that far and it's a lot of trouble, you want to make the most out of that vacation. So that doesn't leave a lot of days left that we have to play with, because we still have to reserve days for our holidays, Christmas, and all of that. I said all that just to say that we will probably just make this a domestic vacation this year, that it's just going to be within the country. Although I might not be going that far, it's still a place we haven't been. I think we're going to have a really good time doing that. A couple of weeks ago, I mentioned to you that I was just really having some friend trouble. I was just feeling kind of isolated and a little bit abandoned by, I didn't mention, well, I don't think I said those words, but that is kind of how I've felt lately, by a couple of my friends in particular. They're just not accessible, and it you know, it's just not their fault. They've got things going on. They cannot help it. It's not their fault. And I should feel, you know, more blessed that I don't have those things going on in my life that are, you know, hard trials right now that they're going through. And I did put on a Facebook group the idea of having a crochet meetup. And then we had our 4th of July party, and 2 of the other friends that I had here, they crochet, and we started talking about crochet a lot. And I don't know why it didn't dawn on me before, but they both seem interested in coming over and crocheting with me, or doing a little crochet club where we could meet at each other's houses. And I also have a 4th person, so a 3rd friend at church, who I know she crochets. She lives a little bit further away from us, but if she's available, she would be a perfect 4th person. So to get together with 3 or 4 ladies, I feel like that is just the perfect size group, where it's not so big that you can't socialize with everyone. So I'm going to follow up on that, and I'll let you know if that's something we start doing. And maybe if they're comfortable with it, they will let me record a little bit during those little crochet parties that we're having. I will try to get them on camera more and more, and maybe they will become more comfortable with it. You know who you are. Are you watching? You know who you are. So I'm going to get off of here for now. I'm not the fastest at crocheting and talking, because I am afraid that I'm going to mess up and I'll have to frog it. So after I've made more progress, I will pop back on, and hopefully it will be much further along than it is now. And I will see you soon. And fast forward into the future, and here the shawl is finished. When I was approaching the finish line, I was like, I don't know if I really like this. The crochet was just a little too tight, and it wasn't as lacy as it looked in the pattern photos. But then, as most time happens with crochet, once you begin blocking it and working with it, it comes into shape, which is exactly what happened. So I steam blocked it. I only stuck with the 1 hank of yarn. I did not go back and buy a second one. That would have been too much garment for what I was looking for. I just wanted a nice, light, airy spring summer piece, and that is exactly what I got. And I did have enough to add some tassels, and I also have just a little bit left over, so that is how much is left over. I probably could have gotten 1 more row out of it, but I don't think I would have been happy with that. After I got it steamed and shaped the way I wanted it, it was just the perfect size. So yesterday I wore it to church and I wore a top with sleeves. And this was just the perfect amount of coverage to give my arms a little extra warmth in the cold air conditioning in church. So if you're looking just for a little summer coverage, if you have something like I'm wearing now, like a tank top, this is perfect if you're going into a cold car with the driver who keeps it like a meat locker in there, as my husband does, or if you're going into church. Also, another place that I freeze are restaurants as well as movie theaters. So in the summer, you don't want a big jacket or sweater or a cardigan or something like that probably. And this is just the perfect little amount of coverage. So yesterday for church, I was also wearing a denim skirt, a top that was this color of blue, except it had sleeves. And then I paired it with my little blue straw purse, and it just pulled the whole outfit together. It was very sweet, really feminine, really summery, and I am very pleased. I can say that I definitely would recommend this pattern. I'll give you a closer up view of the lace. I also like the way the tassels hang in this weight of yarn. As you can see, I cut them really long and I did 5 strands. So once you double it, then you've got 10 strings hanging down. The drape turned out really nice. There are tons of shawl patterns out there and you can probably find one for free. I was just searching for something that was very lacy and this definitely fit the bill for me. Also, it's going to matter a whole lot what type yarn you use. So if you want it very loose and drapey, you want a small weight yarn, a very fine yarn. And then of course, if you were wanting it for winter, you would use something heavier like a 4-weight. And you would probably want to go a lot larger than I did. If you want it for cold weather, it would work for that too. But for my purposes and what I needed, this was the right fit. My yarn was a variegated white, blue, purple, and pink. I'm not sure how they dye yarn. I've never dyed yarn, but I'm wondering if where the blue and the pink cross, if that's where you get the purple, because those 2 colors blended would make purple. I don't know how they do it, but the colorway is really nice and cohesive. It all goes together real nicely. So thanks for joining me for this little crochet and chat and a little review of this yarn pattern and also of my first experience with hand-dyed yarn. Summer and I hope you found pleasure and inspiration in today's video. And as I mentioned earlier in the video, when I started recording this, it was my 1-year anniversary. We are a few days past that now, but I am only 50 away from 5,000 subscribers. And this video would be published a few days out, so it's highly possible that I may have reached 5,000 by the time you see this. But either way, I thank you for spending time with me and for supporting my channel. It means the world to me. And until we meet again, remember, my friends, to let your light shine and always stay chic. Bye-bye.
Chic, chic crochet!